3:03 A cold text lit up my phone. "He's with me. Don't wait up." I typed back exactly 7 words and started my silent plan. The secretary thought she'd won when she grabbed my husband's phone. Until her wedding day, when the screen behind the altar flickered to life. One perfectly timed silent drop at the exact moment of "I do," and the entire church erupted into chaos. My name is Nora Whitfield, and I've always believed that silence speaks louder than screams. 3:03 a.m. The blue light from my phone screen cut through the darkness of our bedroom like a scalpel. The air conditioner hummed its mechanical lullaby, mixing with the faint ozone smell from the overloaded power strip near the nightstand. Luke's side of the bed remained empty again. The message glowed, "He's with me. Don't wait up," sent from Luke's phone, but not by Luke. My fingers moved with surgical precision across the screen. 7 words. "Keep him. We're done. Enjoy the prize." I pulled the charging cable from the wall, watched the battery icon shift, then systematically disabled every notification. No calls, no texts, no emails. Protocol mode activated. The doorbell rang at 6:17 a.m. I'd been awake, sitting at the kitchen island with my 3rd cup of black coffee, reviewing floor plans for a client's downtown loft renovation. Through the frosted glass panels, I could make out 2 silhouettes, one tall and familiar, shoulders hunched, the other shorter, chin lifted in what could only be described as triumph. I opened the door wearing yesterday's work clothes, deliberately wrinkled. Luke stood there, tie askew, yesterday's stubble darkening his jaw. Behind him, Tessa Monroe, his project coordinator, his late-night meeting partner, his 3 a.m. text sender wore a smile sharp enough to slice bread. "Nora, we need to talk." Luke started, his voice cracking on my name. I held up one hand, not to stop him, just to count. "How many others?" I asked, looking past him to Tessa. Her smile faltered for exactly 1 beat, a micro-expression, a crack in the foundation. "What do you mean?" she said, but her left eye twitched. Simple question, how many others before me? Or am I the first wife you've stolen? Luke's face drained of color. "Nora, please." "Actually," I said, stepping back. "Don't answer. I already know what I need to know." Tessa's confidence returned, mistaking my calm for defeat. She actually had the audacity to touch Luke's arm, fingers curling possessively around his bicep. Her engagement ring, not from Luke, but from Grant Ellison, owner of Ellison Premier Printing, caught the morning sun. 4 carats of hypocrisy. "We didn't mean for it to happen this way," she said, voice dripping with false sympathy. I smiled then, not with my mouth that stayed neutral, but with my eyes. The kind of smile that made my contractor clients nervous during negotiations. "Of course you did," I said. "The 3 a.m. text wasn't an accident. The photo booth pictures from Henley's bar weren't accidents. The suite at the Caraway Hotel, billed to a client meeting, wasn't an accident." Both their faces shifted, Luke's to confusion, Tessa's to something sharper calculation. "You're guessing," she said. "I'm an interior designer, Tessa. I know how to read structures. Your affair has the same pattern as water damage, starts small, spreads through the weakest points, leaves stains everyone can see but pretends not to notice." I stepped back, ready to close the door. "Luke, your things will be in the garage by noon. Tessa, congratulations on your upcoming wedding to Grant. 3 weeks. Isn't it? The Riverton Botanical Conservatory." Her face went white. "How did you— public records, wedding announcements, social media you forgot to privatize." I paused, hand on the door. "Oh, and Tessa, that company discount you've been getting from Grant's printing company for Rowan and Slate projects, the one you arranged through internal email while sleeping with your supervisor, that's going to make a fascinating conversation piece." The door closed with a soft click, cutting off whatever response they might have had. I leaned against it, listening to their muffled voices arguing on my porch. Luke's panicked, Tessa's shrill. After 43 seconds, car doors slammed, an engine started, tires crunched on gravel. Silence returned. I picked up my phone and scrolled to a contact marked simply DK. Dax, it's Nora Whitfield. I need a complete profile workup. 2 subjects. Timeline starts 6 months ago. Rush job. Dax Keller's voice was gravelly, professional. The opposite. I have 3 weeks. I want everything, every receipt, every timestamp, every login. But Dax, we do this quiet. No waves until I say, understood. Wire the retainer by noon. Already in progress. I ended the call and returned to my floor plans. The client wanted to expose the original brick walls, reveal the bones of the building. Sometimes destruction was just another form of creation. Sometimes the best revenge wasn't served cold, it was served silent, at exactly the right temperature, with a 3-week marinade. The foundation of our marriage had been rotting for months, but I'd been too focused on the surface to notice the structural damage underneath. Luke changed after joining Rowan & Slate Advisors 14 months ago. At first, it was subtle like hairline cracks in fresh plaster. Late nights became later. Weekend projects turned into urgent client needs. His phone, once casually abandoned on counters and nightstands, grew a password that changed weekly. I know how to read buildings, how to spot load-bearing walls from decorative ones, how to identify the telltale signs of termites in the joists. A marriage, I learned, deteriorates in similar patterns. The first crack a receipt from Montague's, an upscale steakhouse downtown, $243. Luke claimed it was a client dinner, but the timestamp 11:47 p.m. told a different story. Clients don't order dessert wine at midnight. The second, a hotel charge on our joint credit card, the Caraway Hotel. Client insisted on booking the suite for the presentation, but when I called the hotel, pretending to be Luke's assistant confirming the reservation, they mentioned the champagne service. Since when do quarterly reviews require Dom Perignon? Then came the scent, not perfume exactly, but a change in the chemical composition of his clothes. Our detergent mixed with something floral, something that wasn't mine. It clung to his Thursday shirts specifically. Always Thursdays. You're paranoid, my sister had said when I mentioned it. Luke adores you. But I don't deal in adoration. I deal in load calculations and stress points. And every structure has a breaking point. 3 months ago, I started documenting. Not actively investigating, just noting patterns like I would catalog paint chips or fabric samples. Thursday late nights, weekend conferences that Tessa Monroe always attended, the way she laughed at his mediocre jokes during company parties, her hand lingering on his shoulder a beat too long. Tessa Monroe, project coordinator, engaged to Grant Ellison, the kind of woman who wore her ambition like designer jewelry flashy, expensive, and ultimately borrowed from someone else. I met her at the Rowan & Slate Christmas party last year. She'd complimented my dress, a vintage Halston I'd restored myself while her eyes calculated the cost. When Luke introduced us, her handshake was firm, possessive. She held on a second longer than necessary, her engagement ring scraping against my wedding band. Your husband is brilliant, she'd said, but her eyes never left his face. We make a great team. Present tense. We, not professionally distant, but intimately inclusive. The weight-bearing beam of our marriage trust had been quietly splintering under the load. 2 weeks before the 3 a.m. text, I'd finally called Marla Quinn, my friend from college who'd become a labor attorney. We met at a wine bar in lower downtown, the kind with exposed brick and Edison bulbs that tried too hard to seem authentic. Hypothetically, I'd said, swirling a glass of Malbec, if someone were having an affair with a subordinate at work. Marla's eyes sharpened. She'd always been able to read blueprints of human behavior better than I could read architectural plans. Rowan & Slate has a strict non-fraternization policy, she said, especially between management and support staff. It's not just firing offense, it can trigger ethics reviews, loss of licenses, especially if there's any suggestion of quid pro quo. and if the subordinate were engaged to someone else, someone whose business had contracts with the company. Marla set down her glass. That's a multi-layered conflict of interest. If there's evidence of preferential treatment, business deals influenced by personal relationships. Nora, what's going on? I'd shown her 3 photos on my phone. One from the company newsletter Luke and Tessa at a strategy session, her hand on his forearm. Another from the hotel's Instagram page, a timestamp showing their client suite on a night Luke claimed to be in Denver. The third, a screenshot of an email Tessa had sent from her company account, arranging a special discount from Grant's printing company for Rowan and Slate's annual reports. Jesus, Marla breathed. This is a ticking bomb. Do you want me to? Not yet, I'd said. I need to understand the full scope first. Like checking for asbestos before you start tearing down walls. That's when I'd decided to hire Dax Keller. Not for revenge, not then. Just for clarity. To understand the dimensions of the betrayal before I decided whether to renovate or demolish. But then came the text. 3:03 a.m. He's with me. Don't wait up. The arrogance of it. The cruelty. Using his phone to mark territory like a dog pissing on a fence post. That's when renovation ceased to be an option. Some structures are too damaged to save. Sometimes the kindest thing, the only thing, is complete demolition. You just have to be careful about controlled explosions, making sure the collapse doesn't take down neighboring structures. I pulled out my laptop and created a new project folder, Monroe Wedding, Riverton Botanical Conservatory. Inside, I began organizing subfolders: venue contracts, vendor lists, guest registry, timeline. 3 weeks to plan the perfect demolition. In architecture, we call it selective demolition, removing specific elements while preserving others. I would remove Tessa Monroe from Luke's life, from Rowan and Slate, from Grant Ellison's future, but I would do it with surgical precision, leaving my own reputation intact. The foundation was already cracked. I just needed to apply pressure to the right points and document the collapse. Dax Keller worked like a forensic archaeologist, excavating truth one layer at a time. 7:43 p.m. Tuesday. Rowan and Slate parking garage, level B2. Luke's BMW pulls into spot 47. 3 minutes later, Tessa's white Audi slides into spot 51. They take separate elevators but arrive at conference room C simultaneously. 9:16 p.m. Same night. They exit through the emergency stairwell, 14 seconds apart. The security camera catches Tessa adjusting her skirt. Luke's shirt is untucked. 11:28 p.m. The Caraway Hotel valet records Luke's BMW. Room 1247, executive suite. Charges 2 bottles of Veuve Clicquot. Late-night room service for 2. Dry cleaning for 1 women's blouse. Dax's reports arrived daily. Time-stamped and GPS tagged. Clinical, precise, devastating. Thursday, 2:14 a.m. ATM withdrawal from Luke's account. $300 cash. Same ATM located inside Henley's bar, known for its discretion and lack of security cameras in the back booth section. Friday, 4:33 p.m. Email from Tessa's work account to Grant Ellison. Working late again on the quarterly projections. Don't wait up. Love you. Friday, 4:37 p.m. Keycard access log shows Tessa entering the executive conference room. Luke's card swipes in 4 minutes later. No meeting scheduled. Cleaners report finding wine glasses Monday morning. The photo booth images from Henley's bar were particularly damning. Date stamps visible. Luke and Tessa. Her lipstick smeared. His wedding ring conspicuously absent. 4 strips, each showing progressive intimacy. The final frame, her engagement ring pressed against his chest as she kissed his neck. "Your husband's sloppy," Dax said when we met at a coffee shop in Capitol Hill. "Most cheaters are careful for the first 3 months. After that, they get comfortable. Comfortable means careless." He slid a manila folder across the table. "Page 12 might interest you." Page 12 was a credit card statement. Grant Ellison's company card. Regular purchases from Rowan and Slate for printing services. All signed off by Tessa Monroe. The amounts had increased 40% since her affair with Luke began. The approval signatures showed Luke's authorization on projects outside his department. "That's beyond infidelity," Marla said when I showed her that evening. "That's potential fraud. They're using their affair to inflate contracts. Grant's company gets more business. Tessa gets kickbacks and bonuses. Luke gets, well, he gets Tessa," I finished. "For now." Marla pulled out her laptop. Rowan and Slate's Employee Handbook, Section 7.3. Any employee found to be in a romantic or sexual relationship with a direct report or subordinate will be subject to immediate termination. If such relationship results in financial gain or preferential treatment in business dealings, the matter will be referred to the State Ethics Commission. She turned the screen toward me. Section 7.4. Employees are required to disclose any potential conflicts of interest, including romantic relationships with vendors, clients, or their immediate families. She's engaged to a vendor while sleeping with her supervisor who's approving inflated contracts to that vendor. I summarized. It's a ethics violation trifecta. Marla confirmed. The compliance board will have a field day. Saturday brought more evidence. Dax had pulled security footage from the office building. 43 separate occasions over 6 months where Luke and Tessa were alone after hours. The timestamps corresponded with nights Luke claimed client emergencies, but the masterpiece was an email thread Dax somehow acquired. Tessa to her maid of honor. Grant's sweet but boring. Elle makes me feel alive. After the wedding, I'll have security and excitement. Best of both worlds. Luke's response to his brother, forwarded carelessly. Tessa understands ambition. Nora just wants to play with paint samples and furniture. A man needs a woman who matches his drive. Paint samples and furniture. 7 years of marriage reduced to a dismissive stereotype. I printed everything. 3 copies, 1 for the lawyers, 1 for the compliance board, 1 for Grant Ellison. The venue contracts Dax pulled were enlightening. The Riverton Botanical Conservatory. Saturday the 24th, 4:30 p.m. ceremony. The venue had a particularly interesting clause about conduct unbecoming and moral turpitude that could trigger immediate cancellation and full forfeiture of deposits. The wedding photographer's Instagram revealed the technical setup: LED screens for the slideshow, wireless presentation system, everything controlled by iPad from the tech booth. Dax's final delivery included the guest list: 312 people, 47 from Rowan and Slate, including the entire executive board, Grant's family flying in from Hartford, a judge, 2 state representatives, and a district attorney among the attendees. "You could destroy her," Dax said, organizing the surveillance photos into chronological order. "This is enough to end careers." "I don't want to destroy her," I said, studying the floor plan of the conservatory. "Destruction is messy, uncontrolled. I want something cleaner." "What then?" I picked up a photo of Tessa in her wedding dress, posted on her Pinterest board. $200,000 of Italian lace and delusion. I want the truth to destroy her. At the exact moment she thinks she's won everything. Dax smiled. The wedding. I pulled out my phone and created a new calendar event. Saturday the 24th, 4:29 p.m. Set reminder. Execute protocol. 3 weeks to arrange a perfect collapse. Every support beam identified. Every load calculated. Every exit blocked. Selective demolition requires patience and precision. I had both. The architecture of revenge requires precise engineering. Every operation interlocked with the next. No redundancies. No room for error. Operation Fiancé. I compiled the wedding packet with an archivist's attention to detail. 63 photographs, arranged chronologically. The Henley's Bar photo booth strips. Security stills from the Caraway Hotel. Parking garage timestamps. Each image tagged with date, time, and location. The email threads came next. Tessa's best of both worlds confession. Luke's dismissal of our marriage. The inflated contract approvals. Everything converted to PDF, password protected, scheduled for automatic delivery. Grant Ellison's email address was publicly available on his company website. The subject line, "What you deserve to know before you say I do." Scheduled delivery Saturday the 24th, 4:15 p.m., 15 minutes before the ceremony. Just enough time to check his phone during the pre-ceremony photos. Backup delivery to his best man, his mother, and his business partner. Insurance against deleted emails or ignored messages. Operation Compliance. The ethics complaint required more finesse. Anonymous submissions carried less weight, but named complaints could backfire if traced prematurely. I created a paper trail that led nowhere, a concerned employee who'd observed troubling behavior but wished to remain protected under whistleblower statutes. The package included financial records showing the 40% contract inflation, email evidence of the personal relationship, and a timeline demonstrating how the affair coincided with increased business to Grant's company. 17 pages of documentation, cross-referenced and annotated, scheduled for hand delivery by courier service at 8:30 a.m. Saturday the 24th. The Emergency Ethics Board meeting would be triggered automatically. Their protocols demanded immediate convening for conflicts involving vendor fraud. By noon, while Tessa was having her makeup done, the board would be reviewing her termination. Operation Venue. The Riverton Botanical Conservatory's event manager, Patricia Hendricks, was a professional who understood reputation management. When I called, I introduced myself as a concerned industry professional who'd become aware of a potential situation. "The Monroe Ellison wedding on the 24th?" I said carefully. "There's documented evidence of significant ethical violations that will become public during the ceremony. I wanted to give you advance notice to protect the venue's reputation." Patricia's silence stretched for 3 seconds. What kind of evidence? Financial fraud, infidelity, ethics violations at a Fortune 500 company, 300 guests including government officials and media connections. Christ. A pause. "What do you want?" "Nothing from you. I'm simply suggesting you might want to review your standard protocols for handling disruptions. Perhaps ensure your technical staff knows how to quickly disconnect presentation systems if inappropriate content appears." "I appreciate the heads up," Patricia said slowly. "We'll be prepared." Operation Vendor. The wedding's technical coordinator was a 26-year-old freelancer named Marcus who ran 3 events every weekend. I hired him for a corporate presentation the week before Tessa's wedding, overpaid significantly, and mentioned I did event planning on the side. "I might have some overflow work," I said, handing him a $500 tip. "Big society wedding on the 24th at the conservatory. The client wants some special touches for the slideshow. Very specific timing. Would you be interested?" Marcus checked his calendar. "I'm actually running tech for the Monroe Ellison wedding that day." Perfect coincidence. My client is friends with the family. She wants to surprise them with some additional photos during the slideshow. I'll send you the file day of. When you see my signal, I'll raise my right hand to adjust my earring. You'll switch to the alternate slideshow. The family will be so touched. "Seems harmless enough," Marcus said, pocketing the tip. "Send it by 3 p.m., and you got a deal." Operation Luke. My husband required the simplest strategy: complete silence. He texted 43 times in the first week, called 17 times, showed up at the house 6 times. I responded to nothing, let every call go to voicemail, had the locks changed while he was at work, moved his belongings to the garage in banker's boxes, each one labeled with room of origin, efficient, cold, final. His messages evolved from apologetic to angry to desperate to resigned. The last one, sent Thursday evening before the wedding. "Please, Nora, just tell me what you want." What I wanted was for him to understand that some structures, once demolished, could never be rebuilt, but silence communicated that more effectively than words. Final preparations. I created a master timeline, minute by minute, 8:30 a.m., ethics complaint delivered to Rowan and Slate, noon emergency board meeting convened, 2 p.m., Tessa in hair and makeup, phone likely silenced, 3 p.m. Technical file uploaded to Marcus. 4:15 p.m. Grant receives email. 4:29 p.m. Signal to Marcus. 4:30 p.m. Scheduled ceremony start. 4:31 p.m. Detonation. The presentation file itself was a masterpiece of devastating simplicity. 30 slides, auto-advancing every 4 seconds. Each slide contained one image and a timestamp. No commentary needed. The evidence spoke in its own brutal language. I added one personal touch at the end, a screenshot of Tessa's text from 3:03 a.m. "He's with me. Don't wait up," followed by my response. "Keep him. We're done. Enjoy the prize." Let the wedding guests see who she really was at the exact moment she thought she'd won. I saved everything to 3 separate thumb drives. One hidden in my jewelry box. One in my office safe. One given to Marla with instructions to release if anything happened to me. Not that I expected retaliation, but thorough planning meant considering every contingency. The vendor badge Marcus had made for me listed my name as Sarah Chen from Elevated Events Planning. It would get me into the venue through the service entrance, place me in the back of the conservatory where I could observe without being recognized. 3 weeks of planning condensed into 2 minutes of execution. The beauty of good architecture is that when it's done right, it looks effortless, natural, inevitable, just like gravity taking down a building whose supports have been removed. The coffee shop on 15th Street had exposed brick walls and industrial fixtures trying to hide suburban softness. Tuesday morning, 3 days before the wedding, snow dust swirled against the windows. Tessa walked in wearing confidence like armor, a cream-colored coat that cost more than most people's rent, her 4-carat engagement ring catching the overhead lights. She'd texted me from Luke's phone again, "Need to talk, neutral ground." I was already seated in the corner, my back to the wall. Architect's habit. 3 items arranged on the reclaimed wood table, 1 photograph, 1 email printout, 1 contract bearing her signature. Tessa ordered oat milk latte, extra shot, sugar-free vanilla before joining me. She sat down with practiced grace, crossing her legs, setting her designer bag on the empty chair, playing the role of the victor coming to accept surrender terms. "Nora." She said my name like a diagnosis. "You look tired. You look engaged." I pushed the photograph forward first, the Henley's Bar photo booth strip, her lipstick on Luke's collar. "Interesting way to celebrate your upcoming wedding." Her smile didn't falter. "Ancient history." Time-stamped last Thursday. The second item, the email printout. Her message to Grant's company arranging preferential pricing. CCing Luke for approval outside his department. "That's just business," she said, but her fingers tightened on her coffee cup. The third item landed with subtle weight, the contract showing a 40% markup since her affair with Luke began. Her signature authorizing purchases beyond her approval limit. "This is business too," I said. "The kind that triggers ethics reviews." Tessa leaned back, reassessing. The cream coat suddenly seemed like armor that didn't quite fit. "What do you want? Direct? No more games?" "Nothing." "Bullshit. Everyone wants something. Money. The house Luke back." She laughed at the last suggestion. "You can have him after the wedding if you want. Grant provides stability, but Luke provides excitement. Best of both worlds." I quoted her email. Her face went pale beneath the perfect MAC foundation. "I want nothing," I repeated. "Nothing from you, nothing from Luke, nothing from this situation except its natural conclusion." Natural conclusion. Actions have consequences. Structures under stress eventually collapse. I don't need to want anything. Gravity does the work. Tessa's confidence cracked, revealing something sharper underneath. Fear. Calculation. "You're planning something." "I'm an interior designer. I'm always planning something." "For my wedding." I took a slow sip of black coffee. Let the silence stretch. "Your wedding is Saturday at 4:30 p.m. at the Riverton Botanical Conservatory. 312 guests. Blush and gold color scheme. Dinner by Marquez Catering. Band from Denver. Everything planned to perfection. You've researched. Public information. Your Pinterest board is very thorough. She leaned forward, dropping her voice. If you're thinking of making a scene, I don't make scenes. I make spaces, environments, experiences. Stop speaking in riddles. I gathered the 3 items from the table, slipping them back into my portfolio. No riddles, just facts. You're marrying Grant on Saturday while sleeping with Luke. You've used that relationship to inflate contracts and approve purchases outside your authority. The Rowan and Slate Ethics Board takes these violations seriously. You wouldn't. The scandal would destroy Luke, too. Luke destroyed himself when he chose you. Tessa's hand moved to her throat, fingers finding the delicate gold necklace Luke had given her. I recognized it from our 3rd anniversary when he'd given me the same one. I'd left mine on his pillow the morning after the 3, text. Here's what's going to happen, she said, rallying. You're going to stay away from my wedding. You're going to stay quiet about whatever you think you know. And after Saturday, Luke and I will be more discreet. Everyone wins. Do they? Grant gets a wife who understands social climbing. Luke gets a partner who matches his ambition. I get security and passion. And you, she paused, studying me. You get to move on with dignity instead of being the bitter ex-wife who couldn't let go. I stood, leaving enough cash for both coffees. One last thing. Tessa. She looked up, victorious smile already forming. That 40% markup on Grant's contracts. The ones you authorized Grant's business partner is his brother, the one who just passed the bar exam, the one who specializes in corporate fraud. Her smile froze. I wished you a day you'd never forget, I said, pulling on my coat. I meant it. I walked out into the Denver morning, snow settling on my shoulders. Behind me, through the window's reflection, I saw Tessa still sitting at the table, staring at the empty space where the evidence had been. Her phone was in her hand, but she wasn't dialing, just staring at the screen, perhaps wondering who else had seen what I'd shown her. 3 days until the wedding. She thought she'd come to accept my surrender. Instead, she'd just confirmed she had no idea what was coming. The best demolitions were the ones where the building's occupants never heard the supports being removed until the moment of collapse. My phone buzzed. A text from Marcus, the tech coordinator. File received, ready for Saturday. Signal confirmed right hand to earring. Another from Marla. Ethics board confirmed receipt. Emergency protocols activated. A third from Patricia at the venue. Staff briefed on disruption procedures. We'll be ready. 3 days. 72 hours. 4,320 minutes until Tessa Monroe learned the difference between winning and thinking you've won. I didn't look back at the coffee shop. Some structures weren't worth watching wobble before they fell. Saturday arrived wrapped in perfect June weather, the kind of crystalline Colorado day that wedding photographers dream about. The Riverton Botanical Conservatory gleamed under a cloudless sky, its glass dome refracting light into rainbow patterns across the marble steps. 10:20 a.m. Marla texted, board convened at 8:30 as scheduled. Review in progress. Suspension letters drafted pending final vote. The bureaucratic machinery grinding forward. Invisible, but inexorable. Noon. An Instagram story from one of Tessa's bridesmaids showed the bridal suite in full preparation mode. Champagne flutes, makeup artists. Tessa in a silk robe with bride embroidered in gold thread. Her phone sat face down on the vanity, untouched. She wouldn't see the board's emails until after the ceremony, if their timing held. 2:05 p.m. Grant posted on his Facebook, 3 hours until I marry the woman of my dreams. Feeling blessed? Below it, already accumulating likes and heart reactions. His mother commented, so proud of you both. His email would arrive in 2 hours and 10 minutes. 2:40 p.m. I dressed carefully in my hotel room downtown, a navy sheath dress, understated but expensive. Pearl earrings important for the signal. Low heels for standing in grass. Hair pulled back, professional but forgettable. The vendor badge clipped to a small purse. Sarah Williams, Elevated Events Planning, 3:10 p.m. The Uber dropped me at the service entrance of the conservatory. Delivery vans clustered around the loading dock flowers, extra chairs, the wedding cake in a refrigerated truck. I walked through unchallenged, my badge and clipboard marking me as another invisible component of the wedding machine. The conservatory's main hall was transformed. 8-foot arrangements of roses and peonies flanked the altar, white chairs in perfect rows, each decorated with ribbon and baby's breath. The LED screens on either side displayed a loop of Tessa and Grant's engagement photos posed perfection on mountain peaks and city rooftops. Marcus spotted me from the tech booth, gave a subtle nod. His laptop was open, the alternate file loaded and ready. 3:40 p.m. Guests began arriving. The Rowan and Slate contingent took up 4 rows on the bride's side. I recognized the CFO, the head of HR, 2 board members, Luke's supervisor. All of them would have phones that would start buzzing with emergency meeting notifications within the hour. 3:55 p.m. Luke arrived, taking his seat 5 rows back on the bride's side. His suit was new. I recognized the cut from his tailor. He kept checking his phone, typing, deleting, typing again, probably texting Tessa, or trying to text me, though my number had been blocked from his phone for 2 weeks. 4:05 p.m. The wedding party assembled. Grant stood at the altar with his groomsmen, checking his watch, smiling at arriving relatives. His phone was in his inner jacket pocket. I could see the outline. 10 minutes until the email arrived. 4:12 p.m. The mothers were seated. The music shifted to the processional playlist. 200 conversations gradually quieted. 4:15 p.m. Somewhere. An email was landing in Grant's inbox. Subject line, "What you deserve to know before you say I do." His phone vibrated. I saw him hesitate, hand moving toward his pocket. The best man whispered something, probably reminding him to silence it. Grant pulled out the phone to switch it off, but the preview notification was already on screen. His face changed. Confusion. Then focus as he opened the email. The processional music started. 4:18 p.m. The bridesmaids began their walk. Grant was still staring at his phone. The best man tried to take it, but Grant pulled away, swiping through attachments. His mother noticed, half standing from her seat. 4:20 p.m. The wedding coordinator cued the bridal chorus. Everyone stood. The double doors at the back of the conservatory opened. Tessa appeared in $200,000 of Italian lace, her father at her side. Her smile was radiant, practiced, perfect. She hadn't noticed Grant's expression yet, focused on her grand entrance. 4:22 p.m. Halfway down the aisle, Grant pocketed his phone, shoulders squaring. The best man looked relieved. Tessa's smile widened, mistaking his movement for normal nerves. 4:24 p.m. Tessa reached the altar. Her father kissed her cheek, placed her hand in Grant's. She looked up at her fiancé's face and saw something that made her smile falter. "Grant," she whispered. He didn't respond. The officiant began. "Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today, 4:26 p.m., to witness the union of Grant Ellison and Tessa Monroe." Luke's phone buzzed, then another in the row behind him, 3 more in the Rowan and Slate section, people discreetly checking screens, eyes widening. 4:28 p.m. If anyone has cause why these two should not be joined in marriage, speak now or forever, hold your peace. Traditional words, usually ceremonial. The conservatory held its breath in the pause that followed. 4:29 p.m. I raised my right hand to my ear, adjusting the pearl earring. Marcus clicked his trackpad. The LED screens flickered. The engagement photos vanished, replaced by the first slide timestamp and location coordinates over an image from the Henley's Bar photo booth. Tessa's hands in Luke's hair, his wedding ring visible. The second slide 3 seconds later. The Caraway Hotel receipt. Room 1247. Champagne for 2. The third slide the email about having her cake and eating it too. Gasps rippled through the congregation like wind through wheat. The fourth slide parking garage security footage, timestamp visible. Luke and Tessa, her hand sliding down his chest. The silence shattered like cathedral glass. "What the hell?" Grant's voice cut through the conservatory. Tessa spun toward the screens, her bouquet falling, white roses scattering across the altar. No, turn it off, turn it off. The fifth slide, the inflated contract, her signature authorizing payments beyond her limit. Numbers highlighted in yellow, 40% markup circled in red. Phones erupted throughout the congregation, not just rings alerts, notifications. The specific chime of Rowan and Slate's emergency system. The CFO was already standing, phone pressed to his ear. The head of HR had gone pale, typing furiously. The sixth slide email from Tessa to her maid of honor. "Grant's sweet but boring. Elle makes me feel alive. After the wedding, I'll have security and excitement. Best of both worlds." Grant's mother let out a sound between a gasp and a sob. "Grant, please." Tessa reached for him, but he stepped back, his movement sharp enough to make her stumble in her heels. The seventh slide, more security footage. The executive conference room. Wine glasses. Luke's hand on Tessa's lower back as they entered. Timestamp last Tuesday, 11:43 p.m. Luke shot to his feet in row 5, his face gray. Jesus Christ! Every head turned to him. Recognition rippled through the crowd. The other man was here, at the wedding. The eighth slide, the complete email chain about preferential pricing for Grant's company, showing the pattern of approvals coinciding with late-night meetings. Grant's business partner, his brother, the corporate fraud attorney, was already on his phone, speaking in sharp legal terminology. "Shut it down!" Tessa screamed, rushing toward the tech booth, her train tangling in the altar flowers. "Marcus, shut it down now!" But Marcus had stepped away from his laptop, hands raised in mock helplessness. The presentation was on auto advance, locked in, unstoppable. The ninth slide, Tessa's 3:03 a.m. text from Luke's phone. "He's with me. Don't wait up." Followed by the response, "Keep him. We're done. Enjoy the prize." The congregation collectively inhaled. Someone in the back, it sounded like Tessa's aunt, said, "She sent that to his wife." Patricia Hendricks, the venue manager, moved smoothly to the main power panel. Professional, prepared, just as we'd discussed. Her hand hovered over the switch, giving the moment its full impact before cutting the feed. But the damage was complete. Grant stood at the altar like a man examining wreckage. His voice, when it came, was steady and devastating in its quietness. "This wedding is not happening." He pulled the ring from his pocket, a custom piece that matched Tessa's engagement ring, and set it carefully on the altar. Not thrown, not dropped. Placed with deliberate finality. "Grant, you don't understand." Tessa's voice cracked, mascara running in dark rivers down her cheeks. "I understand perfectly." He turned to the congregation. "I apologize for wasting your time. The reception is paid for, please. Enjoy it. I won't be attending." He walked down the aisle with measured steps, his mother hurrying after him, his brother already on the phone with what sounded like their legal team. Tessa's phone, silent for hours in the bridal suite, began screaming with notifications. Her maid of honor held it out, screen showing dozens of missed calls, texts, emails. The preview of one clearly visible, emergency ethics board meeting, immediate suspension, pending investigation. "You're fired." The CFO's voice carried from his position in row 3. "Don't bother coming to clear your desk. Security will mail your belongings." Luke was pushing through the crowd, trying to reach Tessa, but 2 groomsmen blocked his path. "You should go," one said quietly. "Now." The congregation fragmented into chaos. Some fled immediately, embarrassed by proximity to scandal. Others clustered in gossiping groups, phones out, already spreading the story through social media. The Rowan and Slate contingent huddled in emergency conference, their legal and PR implications spiraling. Tessa stood alone at the altar, a $200,000 artifact of her own hubris. Her sobs echoed in the glass dome, but no one moved to comfort her. The screens had gone dark, but everyone was still recording on their phones. By tonight, the footage would be everywhere. LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. The professional networks would be particularly vicious. Rowan and Slate, Ellison Premier Printing, her career, his reputation, their future, all of it collapsing in real time. From my position by the service door, I watched Luke stumble toward the parking lot, pulling at his tie like it was choking him. He looked back once, maybe searching for Tessa, maybe looking for me. But I was invisible in the vendor crowd, just another witness to the collapse. Tessa's father finally reached his daughter, wrapping his suit jacket around her shoulders, trying to shield her from the camera phones. But there was no shelter from this storm. Every angle was captured, every sob recorded, every stumble documented. The altar flowers, so carefully arranged, so perfectly white, were trampled in the chaos. Their petals ground into the conservatory's stone floor. The metaphor was almost too obvious, but sometimes the obvious metaphors were the most accurate. Patricia Hendricks approached the microphone, her voice professionally calm. "Ladies and gentlemen, we ask that you please exit the conservatory in an orderly fashion. The venue is now closed." The wedding was over. It had lasted exactly 11 minutes from processional to collapse. I stood on the conservatory's glass terrace, watching snow dust begin to fall on the abandoned wedding flowers. The June snow was unexpected, unseasonable Colorado weather making its own statement about the day's events. My phone showed one notification, a checklist with a single item marked "Done." The conservatory had emptied in 23 minutes. Guests scattered like startled birds, leaving behind programs, tissues, a single champagne flute someone had optimistically brought from the reception hall. Through the glass walls, I could see the parking lot chaos cars trying to leave simultaneously, creating a traffic jam of scandal and gossip. Tessa's wedding dress train was still visible through the main doors, dragging across the stone steps as her father led her to his car. The Italian lace was torn now, gray with dirt, $200,000 reduced to evidence of humiliation. My phone buzzed. A text from Marla. Suspension confirmed. Full termination pending investigation. Ethics Board recommending criminal referral for contract fraud. Another buzz. Dax. Local news already has it. Wedding disaster at Botanical Conservatory. Videos trending. I turned off the notifications. The caterers were wheeling the untouched wedding cake past the window's 5 tiers of fondant perfection that would never be cut. The band was loading equipment, their evening's performance canceled after 0 songs. 300 champagne glasses would go untoasted. Through the side entrance, I saw Luke sitting on the fountain edge, head in his hands. His new suit was rumpled, tie abandoned on the ground beside him. He looked up once, scanning the building, but I'd already stepped back into shadow. Some conversations were better left unspoken. Some endings needed no words. Patricia Hendricks appeared beside me, professional even in chaos. "Your warning was appreciated," she said quietly. "We contained it as best we could." "You did perfectly." She studied me for a moment. "You're the wife, aren't you? The real one." I didn't answer, but she nodded anyway. "Clean work," she said, and walked away. The snow was accumulating now, covering the rose petals scattered across the terrace. By morning, every trace of the Monroe-Ellison wedding would be buried. The conservatory would host another event next weekend, a corporate fundraiser. According to the schedule Patricia had posted, life would continue, just not the life Tessa had planned. I walked to my rental car, each step measured and final. The vendor badge went into a trash bin. Sarah Williams from Elevated Events Planning had served her purpose. The pearl earrings stayed on. They were real, valuable, worth keeping. As I drove past the fountain, Luke was gone. Only wet footprints remained, already filling with snow. My phone rang an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail, then another, and another. The story was spreading, and people would want answers, explanations, interviews. They wouldn't get them from me. Silence had been my weapon, and it would remain my shield. Back at my hotel, I packed methodically. The architect's drawings for my client's loft renovation went into my portfolio. Real work, real creation, real life waiting on the other side of this calculated destruction. Tomorrow, I'd fly back to Denver, file the divorce papers Marla had prepared, and begin the process of actual rebuilding. My phone showed 17 missed calls, 43 texts, 97 emails. I deleted them all unread except one, a message from Grant Ellison. Thank you for the truth. However it came. No one should enter marriage blind. I typed 2 words, "You're welcome." Then I blocked the number. Some connections were meant to be temporary, serving only the purpose of a single moment's clarity. The hotel room's window faced west toward the mountains. The storm was passing, revealing stars between the clouds. Somewhere in the city, Tessa was discovering that her company email had been deactivated, her keycard canceled, her entire professional network watching her spectacular fall on social media. Luke was probably realizing that his own position at Rowan and Slate was untenable. The executives wouldn't fire him immediately. But the path upward he'd been so desperate to climb had crumbled. They'd wanted the best of both worlds. Instead, they'd lost everything in both. I opened my laptop and pulled up the renovation plans. The client wanted to expose the original brick, reveal the building's honest structure beneath years of accumulated facades. Sometimes destruction was the only path to authenticity. My phone buzzed one last time. A text from an unknown number had to be Tessa. Borrowing someone's phone. "You destroyed my life." I considered responding, explaining that she'd destroyed her own life. I'd simply provided the schedule and venue, but silence had served me well. I blocked that number too. Outside, the snow continued to fall, erasing footprints, covering evidence, preparing the ground for whatever would come next. The conservatory would wash away the rice, sweep up the petals, reset the chairs for the next event. The Caraway Hotel would rent room 1247 to other guests with other secrets. Henley's Bar would replace the photo booth paper, ready for new memories and new mistakes. But the internet would remember. Screenshots would circulate. The story would become legend in Denver's professional circles, a cautionary tale about hubris, desire, and the dangerous assumption that secrets stay secret. I closed the laptop, turned off the lights, and watched the snow fall in the darkness. Somewhere across the city, 2 people who'd thought they were clever were learning the weight of consequences. The foundation of my marriage had collapsed, but I was an architect. I knew how to build again, on better ground, with stronger materials, alone. Thank you so much for listening to this story of calculated revenge and silent justice. I'd love to know where you're listening from. Drop a comment below and let's connect across the miles. If this tale of karma served cold resonated with you, please subscribe to the channel for more stories that explore the shadows of human nature. Share your thoughts. Was Nora's revenge justified? Or did she go too far? Your perspectives make these stories richer for our entire community. Until next time, remember the quietest revenges are often the most complete.